even though this kit is not necessarily the most sturdiest thing in the world, and it also has parts that are at risk of falling, still, it is an improvement when compared to the tertium and the celtsam. So, I have to say, third times is really the charm when it comes to the Gundam Mark III mold. What is going on, guys? MJ2005 Gundam here, and today I'm going to be reviewing the P-Bandai High Grade Gundam Mark III from Zeta Gundam MSV, among many other sources. So before I begin, I have to address the video quality. I am using a new camera because the old one is sadly out of commission from age, so I had to use a new camera, so hopefully you guys understand the quality change. But anyways, let's get into the review. So the Gundam Mark III, derived from the celtsams, I had to give this thing a third chance just because this is more of a grounded design from the Universal Century instead of the more ambitious designs, the celtsam and the tertium, and I have to say I am pretty satisfied. Third times is the charm apparently. So this thing right here is the vanilla version of the Gundam Mark III, so of course it comes with the bluish color scheme and with the vibrant red accents in the color scheme. I think it does work, but still it's not my preferred color scheme when it comes to the Mark III. I will like the Anaheim Lab version, which is in a gray instead of a blue, but this thing right here is enough to satisfy some of you guys out there who really wanted the vanilla Gundam Mark III in your collection instead of the two build variants. And overall, this thing does look pretty good. While the line art is not much to go by because it looks terrible, but it does look accurate when compared to the line art of the Anaheim Labs version and the Unit 8. Expect those two to come down the line in the near future. Color separation on this kit is also decent, with stickers being used only on the head, the eyes over here, the sensors on the front and the back of the head, you got the sensors on the chest, mini thruster details on the shoulders over here, and of course the yellow detail on the wings. These are the worst on the kit, however I can't really blame them for that. So overall, color separation is pretty good, even with these vents over here that poke through the holes. That is pretty good. Build quality is similar to the celtsam, with some seam lines that you need to clean up, for example the most prominent ones on the arms over here, and of course because of the blue plastic, the nub marks tend to show a little bit more prominently, so you guys will have to do some extra cleanup when it comes to that. But overall, this kit does look pretty good. Articulation wise, a lot of parts are similar to the celtsam, but it's mostly fresh. I'm gonna go over it once again. So there is a double ball jointed head that is on a polycap, which is relatively unimpeded. The arms over here can swivel out that far on a swivel polycap, which is easy enough to access. They can rotate at the shoulder, which does not disintegrate whenever I try to move it, so that's great. And the shoulder flap over here can move, which allows for the arm to move. The shoulder armor can also move separately for the arm to move out further, but it's a little bit hard to coordinate, and more often than not you would dislodge the arm. Not that it's loose in any sense, but it's just too many joints working together to get that arm to go out. Rotation at the elbow and a bend at the elbow, still as bad as the ones on the tertium and the celtsam, because unfortunately they're using the same joints. But it does also come with a forearm rotation, which is also very hard to access, but it is there, so there we have it. And of course the wrists are on very tight ball joints, which I do very much appreciate. And the stomach and waist can rotate just like so, not much crunching whatsoever, so you don't need to expect that to happen. Front skirts can be separated without any ill effects. Side skirts can move outwards. Back skirt is as usual a freaking block. The legs can move separate from the waist, do the funky dance, and they can go forwards, not much back, outwards all the way, rotation at the hip, and without the armor on the legs you can get full access to the double jointed knee, but more often than not the lower joint is completely sufficient, but you do still get the top joint if that's what you want. And the back flap over here can move very far, exposing the hollow points that are inside that you're not going to get to see most of the time. Ankle flap can move, feet can go forwards and back, side to side a little bit, rotate a little bit, but thanks to this side panel over here you cannot really get to do much. Now the backpack is the main reason why this kit is pretty hard to handle, just because the backpack design doesn't allow for many gripping points, which means even though this kit is not as loose as the celtsam and the tertium, you're still gonna knock quite a bit of pieces off. So over here the binders, they're on ball joints, so they can swivel like this, the individual wings over here can move, stabilizers can move as well, and the hub units for the beam saber slash beam cannon over here can move up and down. The beam sabers themselves don't move, so don't try to move them or else you'll just dislodge them. So I'm just gonna flip them down just for the sake of it, and these thrusters are still as volatile as ever. So all in all, articulation on the Gundam Mark III is very, very good. Without the armor of the Celtam and the Tertium hindering the articulation, it definitely has received quite a bit of improvements. However, even though this kit is not as loose, it's pretty hard to handle due to the stabilizers on the back. So more often than not, you'll find yourself dislodging stuff, which is pretty common in my opinion. Accessories, generic Gundam loadout. First of all, we do have the beam cannon slash beam sabers that go over the shoulders, which are basically the cannons from inside of the Celtam's leg armor. So what you can do with these, if you don't want them to be cannons, is just pluck them out and bring in the SB1 beams that this kit does come with a very pale pink. Poke it in there, and then grab one of these hands, which always have a use, but I just didn't know enough of the Gundam Mark III to be able to put them to good use, apparently. And just plug the beam sabers into the hands over here, and then swap out the manipulators. But yeah, the manipulators, same thing goes for the Celtam and the Tertium. The Gundam Mark III has manipulators that are so tight it often tugs the sleeve along. So yeah, it's pretty troublesome to get it to swap hands, but eventually you'll be able to get it to hold the hyper beam saber. And here you have it. It still looks a little bit unsettling to know that there's a gun barrel right at the end of the beam saber, but I guess whatever works. Moving on, we have the two beam rifles over here. So yep, these are the same beam rifles used by the Tertium, which do have green stickers for each of their scopes, and you do have a removable E-pack over here. They can all be stored on the back, but you can only store one because space, and they store on very tightly, which is what I do appreciate. And they simply go in to the hands sandwich style, just like so. And then finally, you do have the shield over here. The shield looks pretty good. Although it looks more like a thin plank more than anything, it still looks pretty good. Color separation is decent with the red arrows over here using stickers, but I really cannot blame them for that. And of course, the extra ammo packs over here can be stored underneath the shield. So this is another gimmick you get to enjoy. Now what you want to do with the shield is to basically clip it in the arm. Now you may think that this means the shield is going to be loose, but no, the shield is held in there fairly well. Now of course, without the beam rifle getting in the way, the shield just stays in there, which is pretty good for a clip joint. And on the shield are the normal beam sabers. So you can just plug them out, grab the SB13 beams that this kit comes with, and stick them into the normal hands. But as per the Celtam and the Tertium, the beam sabers are just too narrow to just stay in there. So if you push them too far, they will just get themselves cut. And here you have it, the Gundam Mark III holding its regular beam saber. So that's gonna wrap it up for all the accessories on the Gundam Mark III. For comparisons, first of all, I have to bring in the normal Gundam for a comparison. So as you can see, the Mark III is a hair taller when compared to the normal Gundam. And of course, we have to bring in both build variants for comparison. The Celtam and the Tertium, both of which are subpar molds of the Gundam Mark III mold. When it comes to level of parts, by no particular order, first of all, we do have some extra thrusters, joints, and arm joints over here. These are mainly for the Celtam armor, and you do have an extra set on the C1 plate. Moving on, we have the 2D plates with the extra pieces over here. Now I did accidentally cut off the head crest for the Tertium just because I was a little bit of an idiot. I can't read. And of course, we do have some extra details that are for the Celtam, and this one is for the back skirt, but unfortunately we can't use the other one because it only has one set of back skirts. And then finally, here we have the light blue detail over here. These are all from the Celtam. So the rear leg armor and the front skirts, they may not look different, but the detail is different. So as you can see, the detail over here is smaller when compared to the Mark III. So yeah, if you can forego that, you can use this as replacements. But if you can't, then maybe do some mods, or maybe even just leave them be. So that's not too many leftover parts from the Gundam Mark III. So that's gonna wrap it up for the high grade Gundam Mark III review. Now, the only downside to me is that this kit is hard to handle, which can cause a lot of the pieces to fall off whenever you're trying to move some other piece. But I must admit, this kit is not the sturdiest thing in the world, considering that it's using the Mark III mold, and it's also using polycast, which can make this kit's structural integrity unpredictable. However, it's still an improvement when compared to the previous two counterparts, so overall this kit can be a little bit less frustrating to pose. Looks wise, the overall resemblance to the Zeta Gundam does make this kit look unique. Colors may not be to my taste, but it may be to yours, but I cannot deny the fact that this kit does have decent color separation, with stickers only covering for the smaller, more minute details. And proportionally speaking, this kit nails the proportions when compared to the Anaheim Labs and Unit 8 line art. But do clean up all of those seam lines and the nub marks, because the blue plastic does enhance those flaws. So overall, I'm gonna give this thing a 7.5 out of 10. So I would recommend you guys who like the Gundam Mark III to pick it up, but pick it up at a reasonable price, because unfortunately it is freaking P-Bandai. So that's gonna wrap it up for me. Thank you all so much for watching this video. If you did like it, please be sure to drop a like, comments, and also subscribe for more Gunpla reviews, Gunpla news, and all that kind of stuff. Turn on notifications for future content updates if you haven't, and I'll see you all in the next video. Peace.